Thank you, Mauro. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende. My name is Knox. I'm a member of the Sunday Service Committee, and I'm pleased to be serving as the service leader today. We are located on the lands of the Chichimeca, Otomi, and Nahua peoples, and we are making community by Zoom across Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. Welcome to all of you joining us today. Wherever you are, and whatever your religious background or lack thereof, and whoever you love, you can bring your whole self here. After the service today, those who are with us here at the Aldea can stay for coffee and cookies downstairs. Those who are with us by Zoom are invited to stay connected and visit with others and to discuss today's topic. Next Sunday, we will celebrate a uniquely Unitarian Universalist service called the Flower Communion, which celebrates the beauty of diversity. Please bring a flower or two to the service to contribute to a beautiful bouquet. It is also a wonderful service to bring a friend who might be interested in Unitarian Universalism. I want to announce that the first showing of Judy Jackson's film, Where Can We Live in Peace, was yesterday at the Biblioteca. It was a sold-out screening. The second showing of the film, scheduled for this coming Thursday, February 2nd, is sold out now too. There will be a third screening on Friday, February 10th. The tickets are available ahead of time at the Biblioteca or at the website. It's teatrosantaana.org. The film by UU member Judy Jackson is called Where Can We Live in Peace? It captures the human moments and miracles of migrants lucky enough to find the sanctuary of Abba House. The auction committee asked me to announce that if you have not picked up your auction items, they are at the back of the room today or in Tom's car. If we have any visitors here today, would you please stand so that we can see who you are and personally greet you after the service at coffee and cookies? Wow. Quite a few. Thank you. We record our Sunday services, and we expect to post this service on our website by Wednesday of this coming week. For previous services, just go to our website, UUFSMA.org, and click on Previous Sunday Services. Finally, please check the order of service or our website to see the various events and gatherings sponsored by this fellowship, and information on how you can become a member. Our speaker today is Reverend Louise Green, Minister of Congregational Care at All Souls Unitarian in Washington, D.C. She is also a longtime community organizer, both in New York City and the D.C. metro area. She will speak to us today about feeding those who are hungry, which is something we, as a fellowship, are passionate about. When COVID came to our town, this fellowship raised over $88,000 US to help feed thousands of local Mexicans affected by job loss due to the shutdown. Reverend Louise, would you like to offer your opening words while I light the chalice?
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be back for a second Sunday. Good morning. I shifted gears for the opening words today because if you were following events in the United States, it's been a particularly harrowing week with gun violence and also with the release of videos on Friday night in Memphis. And I'd like to take a moment just to recall how we hold the pain of the world, the despair of the world, with the desire to do good. And one of the antidotes to despair is generosity. So you'll have several opportunities today to think about ways you give. But yesterday I came across a poem by Rilke, which I feel like sums up how we might hold life. Quiet friend who has come so far, feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower, and you the bell. And as you ring, what batters you becomes your strength. Move back and forth into the change. What is it like? Such intensity of pain. If the drink is bitter, turn yourself into wine. We light the chalice this morning in memory of Tyree Nichols, his family and beloveds, in the city of Memphis. May this be a moment that leads us to deeper change. Let's keep a moment of silence, please. Blessed be. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Now let's all rise in body or spirit and join our voices together to sing our welcoming hymn, number 38, Morning Has Broken. The words will appear on the screen, and afterwards, please remain standing while we recite our covenant. Now, please remain standing as we all join together in reciting this fellowship's covenant, first in English, and then with Miguel Ángel leading us in Spanish. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassions in our relationships, and seek values of others. This is our covenant. Start over.
Are you ready? Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio. And now, here's Robin with inspirational testimonials and special music for our annual pledge time.
Gracias, Miguel Ángel. Doesn't he just have a voice that's, I always say, like the voice of God? Good morning. I'm Robin Loving, and I'm here to help you celebrate our annual pledge drive, Pledge 23. Our theme this year is sharing the value of our community. And I want to tell you that Margot and Jeannie and Lee and Mama Nora and Don and Christopher have all pledged this morning, and I'm so grateful. This is the time of year when we share back with you all the great reasons that we value our UU community. And then we hope that you will very happily make your most generous pledge. So think about this for a minute. What do you value about our community? Is it the congregants? I know I do. 221 of us feel like my best friends. Is it our activities? You know, here we are this morning, and many of us will go to lunch, and we're certainly going to munch on cookies in the meantime, and we've got games, and we've got groups that meet for discussion, and we've got women's groups, and oh my God, we've got something going all the time. Is it this convenient, lovely, sacred place that we're so graced to have to meet on Sundays and other days? When you think about it, our UU provides us food for the body, the mind, and the spirit. Each week for about a month, we're going to share with you some wonderful testimonials and some very special music from people amongst us who value our community and want to share that with you. Our Zoomers will be included in this, and so all they'll have to do is look into the chat box for the pledge link, and each of you is going to have the opportunity to fill out your pledge form today. You don't need to put money into the pledge form today, but we would like your pledge today. You're going to have special time for that in just a few minutes. If today's you're not feeling it, fine. Downstairs at coffee, we'll give you another opportunity. You're going to have links in the mail, and every week for about a month, we're going to bring you special opportunities. To paraphrase an interesting man named Joseph Hobday, we can tell whether a person is authentic by how well he or she shares. Here to tell you about why they are sharing generously with our community are one of our young explorers, Jerome, and his mom, Carla, who have just become members with us. Take it away, Diego.
Hi, my name is Jerome, and I am on our Young Explorers team. I just made my pledge because I value the patience of the teachers and that we can liberate our minds. I hope all of you can collaborate so we can get snacks and materials. I encourage you to give to our fellowship for what you value. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, I'm Carla and Jerome. We live here in San Miguel and we've been attending the fellowship since October last year. This is our first experience with UUFSMA. We were drawn to this fellowship because we were invited for our dear friend, and we also felt welcome in the community. I look forward to participating in the Social Action Committee and Sunday Services Committee. Bye.
Let me see, are Jerome and Carla in the room today? Not yet. Jerome is studying with us in our Young Explorers. He's also studying with the more traditional Mexican catechism. So he's learning all aspects of being a great community member. So I want to now ask you to look into your orders of service and find your pledge form. It won't be as noisy as mine. Zoomers, look into your chat box because Miguel, Ángel, and Diego are putting the link there for you right now. What we'd like you to do is fill these out now and later on drop them into the collection basket. And in order to inspire you, we're going to play some special music titled Together We Can Change the World. You'll have another little bit of encouragement on the screen, so take it away, Diego.
Six, seven, eight, I believe it's not too late. Together we can change the world. Lay the puzzle pieces out, find out what it's all about. Together we can change the world. Can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for your help. Together we can change the world. Sail past where it's been charted, roll your sleeves up, let's get started. Together
Okay, I cannot thank you enough for that much fun. I didn't expect that this morning. Stan started it, and Margot continued it, and then Phyllis started something, and then we were waving. It was great. So remember, you can drop these into the basket in a little while. If you need a little more time, you can give it to our loving administrator, Deanna, on your way out, or yes, Deanna, or we'll have a table down at coffee. I want to thank Phyllis because she was at our table this morning. That's how we got so many of those nice early pledges. And all the people who have pledged early, because there have been a number of them, are going to be in that raffle too for these prizes. The prizes include an hour of tech time with Diego, and a Dropbox lesson and installation with Deanna, and all sorts of other good things. But those are the first two that came in, and they're from our staff. So I'm really grateful to them. Thank you so much. So we'll do this week, and you'll hear about who the winners are. And in the meantime, we want to thank you so much for your generosity. And now, Reverend Louise is here with a very special reading. I thank you.
Wow, that was exciting. I was ready for Robin to launch off like in the movie Encanto, you know, when they're singing, and suddenly they're flying, and my fellow Texan, Margot, doing a little Western swing in the back. So good to witness that. This reading in the food pantry line is by the Reverend Angela Herrera. She's the senior minister in our congregation in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she's pondering their food pantry and who it's really for. The day before Thanksgiving, a woman in a beautiful beaded dress, a man with no teeth, a young man with a pierced lip, and one in his 40s covered in tattoos, several young mothers, a crowd of little girls, and boys flipping and turning on a rail and hopping up and down our sanctuary steps. Our steps, but their steps as well, if we mean it, this inherent worth and dignity thing. And if there's an interdependent web, and we didn't just make it up, their steps, if we get radical and believe that love is justice and welcome people in. Their steps, if we overcome our fear that we'll be overwhelmed by need. What's ours is theirs. 15 children, 70 adults, the day before Thanksgiving on the sanctuary steps.
Thank you, Louise. We now enter into a special time in our service where we acknowledge some of the heartfelt joys, sorrows, and concerns expressed by our members. If you would like to something expressed in an upcoming service, you can do so by emailing our minister, Tom Rosiello. Those of you on Zoom today can type into the chat box. We light our first candle. It's a candle of joy and ongoing support for Christy Magoo and Bob Colt. The good news is that Bob is now officially in recovery. They were able to stop the harsh chemo. He will continue in treatment for the next 2 years, but things are looking very positive. We light another candle of joy from Judy Jackson, who would like to give a huge thank you to all those who helped make the first screening of her documentary on Abba House such a success. A number of our UU fellowship helped to make that happen. The women of our Mis Mujeres group, who worked together to get out the publicity, tech guru Diego Vargas, who worked many hours assisting Judy editing the film, and Stan Allen, of course, who has spent years and thousands of hours at Abba House. Are there any joys and concerns in the chat box? I don't see any. We light our final candle. Oh, we need to light a candle for Ukraine, our blue and yellow candle for the ongoing suffering at the hands of the Russian government. And we light our final candle for those joys and concerns that remain unspoken, but are no less heartfelt. And now let's have a few moments of silence to reflect. Thank you. Our fellowship has a history of giving a large percentage of our annual revenue to local nonprofit organizations through our annual grants program, which is administered by our hardworking Social Action Committee. These nonprofit organizations provide health, educational, and environmental services for underserved communities in the San Miguel area. By the way, one of our past grantees, called Feed the Hungry, is one of the nonprofits that our speaker will highlight today. The rest of our annual revenue covers the salaries of our local staff, our part-time minister and visiting ministers, as well as the rental of this room, and the cost of our Zoom services. Everything else is done by volunteer committees and individual volunteers from within our congregation. We are about to collect the weekly offering. For those of you on Zoom, I need to let you know we cannot currently accept any payments via Zelle, but payments can always be made via PayPal. For those who wish to mail a check, it should be sent to the address that's listed on our website. The offering for the work of our fellowship, including the nonprofit support grants, will now be collected and most gratefully received. If you have a completed pledge form, you can put that in the basket as well.
Thank you, Mauro. That was heavenly. Beautiful. It's always a good moment to ponder what nourishes you. And our theme today is food for the body and soul. Perhaps what nourishes you is a special recipe or dish. I know for me it's enchiladas coloniales that make my heart soar. Perhaps it's a community gathering. Maybe it's the chance to do good with generosity and heart. And here's the thing. When you give to others, you feed your own spirit. Many of you know that, and you do it all the time, so I'm just reminding you. And all of us know that so many people do not have enough to eat. Food scarcity has risen so greatly as a result of the pandemic as well. We see it everywhere. Where I live in Washington, D.C., 1 in 11 people face hunger, and 1 in 6 are children. So in Washington, D.C., 65,000 people regularly face hunger. And some of you, probably all of you know, that Feed the Hungry San Miguel is a nonprofit organization that's committed to improving the health and well-being of children and their families in the greater San Miguel de Allende municipality. They operate a combination of poverty alleviation programs. They serve thousands of children and families through school meals, nutrition education, support for preschool children, support for families. And when the COVID pandemic left thousands of people in San Miguel on the brink of starvation, Feed the Hungry launched the biggest food relief effort in the region. And the $88,000 that you raised sent $4,000 of that to Feed the Hungry San Miguel. You can support Feed the Hungry from anywhere and help feed hungry people right here. So because of a project I'm going to explain, when I travel now, I Google Feed Hungry Children. And then I go try to see something about that. So I think we're back to our first slide was aquí, Feed the Hungry San Miguel. And we'll pause here for 1 minute. So on Thursday, I convinced the director of communications to let me go out to the campo with a head chef, Chef Valentin, and their director of operations, Olivia Muniz. And we went to 2 sites. One was in San Francisco, and then one was in a small town called Las Toriles, which is on top of a mountain and is only accessible with a very bumpy road. We were speaking in Spanish the entire time, so my brain was a little taxed. And they said we're going to be taking a helicopter to Las Toriles. So I was like, okay, all right, we can do this. And then it turned out that was metaphorical, that it was like we were flying over the bumps, but I was ready. And when we got up to the top, there's a very small town with no running water where the women go to get water every day, about 25 minutes away with containers on burros. And they were doing an external program there of early childhood education, nutrition education for the moms, and then food distribution, so big bags of food that were passed out. And it was an amazing experience to see Olivia and Chef Valentin and their other staff there, and to really realize the hardship that they're facing day after day after day. So then hungry children becomes less abstract to me on that day. And as we come down the hill, over the bumps again, you land in Don Francisco, which is a fairly large pueblo. And there is a new project there, which I was lucky to see. It's only 10 days old. And the next pictures in a second are going to show you that project. A shipping container was turned into a kitchen by one of their longtime donors and an architect. And they serve 400 meals a day in this site. So while I was there, My major challenge was filling cups of chocolate, hot chocolate, and tea, and resisting all the kids who were like, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. And the 3 cooks were like, no, no, no. So I was like holding the fort, and got to serve food and eat food and partake of the project, which happens every day, and meet the amazing principal of the school, La Directora Blanca. So these pictures, we're just going to go through quickly, are a little bit of that. This is at the window as they're getting the food. And they're sitting in tables. You see the little trays. The day I was there, we had huevos a la mexicana and sopa de fideo and all these homemade tortillas. It's a beautiful space in the kitchen that's just long and narrow enough to accommodate about 7 volunteers. It's a close-up. Keep going. These are some of the kids who were very eager to have their picture taken. And here's the crew of the 3 women who were paid chefs and some of the madres who make the tortillas every day in a kind of a tortilla collective that feed the hungry San Miguel. Thanks. We could take the slide down. So I just wanted you to see something of what I got to experience. Back in D.C., at All Souls, we have a little free pantry that's outside on the street. It's big and blue, and it's covered with art, so it's difficult to miss. There is a steady stream of people who stops by there, and the food comes in and the food goes out, and there are no volunteers. It's just a self-perpetuating mechanism called the Little Free Pantry, similar to the Little Free Libraries you may have seen elsewhere. Bringing something into that pantry feeds your soul, and everyone who takes something out benefits as well. Now, the grant to build our Little Free Pantry came from the nonprofit No Child Goes Hungry, which is a UU entrepreneurial ministry. It currently gives funds, small grants in 32 different states, is open to giving in Canada and in Mexico. And grant recipients are free to imagine how they want to feed hungry kids. There are food rescue operations, there are food trucks, there are community gardens, there are backpacks filled with food that go home, there are all the little free pantries. So you can apply for that grant and then put your imagination to work. It's so easy for hunger and food scarcity to stay abstract rather than be touched directly by these facts. So how can we make it real? This week I added up what I've spent on food and in restaurants, and I'm going to give 10% of that to feed the hungry. It's for them, but it's more for me to remember that I have so much and to keep tending the spirit of generosity. No Child Goes Hungry was created by UU minister Reverend Karen Rasmussen, and Karen's idea became a reality through her time, energy, generosity. And so I was inspired by her desire to approach a huge, huge problem with one concrete action at a time. A couple of years ago, I asked her, would you ever want a children's book that benefits No Child Goes Hungry? I thought we'd be talking about it and have some meetings, and she said, yes. That's like, now? And she goes, go do it. So sometimes you say, all right. I was able to write the story. We found a wonderful illustrator who did it half price to benefit the organization. And we've been on this learning adventure of publishing. We were picked up by AK Classics and learned a lot about what it's like to publish. It launched just in November. And you can see it, or perhaps even take a signed copy today. I have a few, and then I'll give you one and you donate on the website. Or it's listed on Amazon, or it just got picked up by the UUA bookstore in spirit. And we were going to do some signing at the General Assembly this year. All the book proceeds go to No Child Goes Hungry, and then on to new grants. You could buy it to nourish your own spirit of generosity or as a gift to others of any age. You can use it in a school or a library, congregation, wherever you imagine. Thanks to Jennifer here, who gave me the idea of donating some to the Biblioteca Municipal, the smaller city library. I went by there on Wednesday, gave them a book. She's bringing another and making a chair to go with it. So again, when you see it land, it becomes real. Emilio's very bright idea tells the story of one boy who heard about kids who were hungry and decided he could do something. It's focused on reading level, depending on where you are, of 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, because that's the age when kids know that something isn't right and we need to do something. And a lot of times adults will say, well, it's very complicated, and they're like, well, we need to do something. It's based in Petworth, D.C., where I live, across the street from Truesdale Elementary School and in front of an actual community garden. There was a young child who used to come really early in the morning, 7:30, probably a latchkey kid who had to leave his house. He was very enthusiastic about everything and just so expressive when he greeted us. And so I based the character Emilio on this boy. So today, I'm going to read you a story for all ages. It's about Emilio's spark of imagination that made a very bright idea come to life. It's about a boy who inspired action in his own community, and he taught others about spreading food and spreading love. Emilio's very bright idea. Every morning, Emilio Antonio Santos de la O walked to school exactly the same way. Now that he was in 3rd grade, Emilio walked the 4 blocks alone. He had his key on a straw sombrero keychain from San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, where his grandmother lived. He first walked along the big community garden and shouted, "Hi there," to Mr. Cleo Badgett, who was digging in the soft dirt. Now, Mr. Badgett had rows and rows of corn, climbing tomato plants, baby squash growing on long vines. Then Emilio counted the 13 peach trees in the garden, and he saw how the hard green fruit was ripening. "Good morning, peach trees." Next, he walked over to see the house with his favorite little dog, Whopper, and the Buddha statue in front. "Hello, Buddha. Hello, Whopper," he would say. And finally, Emilio landed in the school playground and went up the climbing tower. He sat high on top and watched all the people come in to school like birds flying into a very big nest. After looking for a long time, Emilio climbed down, went into his school, Truesdale Elementary, just before the bell rang. His first class that day was his favorite, social studies. And his teacher, Mr. James Dixon, began showing lots of slides with children's faces and numbers. He explained how all around the city of Washington, D.C., all over the USA and the world, too many kids were hungry. Even at Truesdale Elementary School, too many kids were hungry. Emilio's face began to scrunch as he thought about it. He knew some kids ate breakfast in the cafeteria before school started and also got their lunches with vouchers. And then a memory of his grandmother, Abuelita Corazon, popped into his head. He loved to visit her in Mexico in the summer with his parents, and he always asked for the same birthday dish. Emilio loved mole enchiladas, dark, spicy chili sauce with grated chocolate poured over hot, handmade corn tortillas with melty cheese. Now, when Abuelita put that steaming plate on the table, she always shouted the same words and gave Emilio a big hug. "La comida es amor, mijo. La comida es amor." So Emilio took a big breath and started thinking about all the hungry children in the pictures. His arm started to wave in the air like a flag on the flagpole outside. Mr. Dixon, the teacher, sighed and asked, "Emilio, what is so important that you have to say it right now?" Emilio thought about all this, and Abuelita's voice was singing in his head, and he yelled out very fast, "La comida es amor." Well, the class giggled and wiggled in their seats. Mr. Dixon stared at Emilio and asked, "Excuse me, what does that mean?" Emilio repeated more slowly, "La comida es amor." Abuelita always says it means food is love. And Mr. Dixon, hungry kids here at Truesdale need to eat because they need love. We have to do something. There was silence in the room, and now everyone stared at Emilio. Mr. Dixon sat down on the edge of his desk and put down the remote control. Then he spoke slowly. "What do you think we need to do, Emilio?" Emilio Antonio Santos de la O thought very hard. He wasn't sure what to say. He wished his arm had never flown up in the air like the flag on the flagpole. Then a tiny idea suddenly came to Emilio, like a little light bulb that was popping on. What if hungry kids could go to a pantry at the front of our school and just take something home to eat? Emilio spoke faster now as his idea grew even brighter. We could build a little free pantry. Food would come in all the time. Food would go out all the time right here at the school. Mr. Dixon seemed surprised. He nodded his head as Emilio's idea kept shining brighter in the classroom. "Emilio, you just had a very bright idea." At lunch, Emilio's friends ran to catch up. They were wanting to talk about the very bright idea. It was Sunya Parikh, Eddie Cruz, and Omari Jackson, who were also excited because it was Friday, their favorite lunch day, pizza. They each said what they would bring to the pantry for hungry kids. Omari said she would bring peanuts. She liked the thick, sweet peanut and kale stew her Auntie Flo made in South Carolina. Sunya was going to bring in chickpeas. She loved to cook chana masala with her older brother and pour the spicy tomato sauce over basmati rice. And Eddie Cruz would contribute peanut butter, strawberry jelly. His mom was an architect. She made sandwiches and little tower shapes with cookie cutters. Emilio knew exactly what he would bring: dark, unsweetened chocolate for mole sauce, the kind in Abuelita's kitchen. And when he left school that day, Emilio passed the front steps and he imagined a new cabinet of food sitting right there. He could see it now, a little free pantry to hold food for hungry kids. It took a while for the little free pantry to be built. And first, Emilio needed to explain his very bright idea to even more grown-ups. Then money had to be raised and supplies purchased, and people worked together to cut wood, to build the cabinet, to paint the pantry in bright colors. And finally, it was all done. Emilio and his parents put the first food in the little free pantry. They opened the shiny purple and green doors that smelled like wood and fresh paint, and they put in rice, beans, tortillas, chili powder, and dark chocolate. Emilio's very bright idea was real. Truesdale Elementary School had a big potluck dinner to celebrate. There was chana masala and basmati rice. There was peanut and kale stew. There were peanut butter jelly banana towers. There were enchiladas with mole sauce. And there were fried cheese pizzas, too. Mr. James Dixon brought in those little packages of Oreos, and there were fresh pies from the community garden peach trees. At the very end of the first ever annual Truesdale Picnic Fiesta, there was a special speaker. Abuelita Corazon flew in from Mexico to celebrate the Little Free Pantry. She stood up on a milk crate and she shouted in a very excited voice, "Don't forget, mijos, la comida es amor."
Thank you, Louise. Now, let's join our voices together to sing our closing hymn, number 118, "This Little Light of Mine." I invite you to rise as you are willing and able. After the postlude, remember to join us downstairs for conversation, coffee, and cookies. And those of you on Zoom can stay online for conversation and discussion about today's topic. The late announcement, the filmmaker of the ABBA documentary, Judy Jackson, is here. If you have paid for some tickets but haven't picked them up, Judy has them and will be over here by the windows. Louise, would you like to offer some closing words while I extinguish the chalice?
You can be seated. That doesn't mean it's going to be long. It just... Our closing words come from the Zona de Paz up at the Charco del Ingenio. I saw them yesterday. They were the words of the Dalai Lama, who visited in 2004 to establish the Zone of Peace. Like waves of water, the vibration of the peace zones produce a movement that in a future not too far away will create a new consciousness in humanity, a consciousness of peace. May we each bring that consciousness of peace, be individual zones of peace, and be a community that ripples out in those vibrations. May it be so. Amen.